Good morning, everybody. Let's start with today's lesson. As I said, today we will be doing question number 2 from the exercises. The question is actually on page number 234 on the textbook, but textbook is not going to be helpful this time. Why? Because we are supposed to use journals from the previous chapter, and these journal entries are already given to us, printed for us in the workbook. So if you have the workbook, it would be really helpful. Please go to page number 156 on your workbook. They have given us the journal entries. We are supposed to use these journal entries to post them to Ledger, right? Let's begin. Now, the first journal entry that is given to us is bank debit, fees earned, HST payable, right? And the explanation is cash sales. Let's do it one by one. So first is bank, right? As you can see, the first transaction, or you can say the first account that is impacted is bank. Now the amount is debited, right? So go to general ledger, go to bank, write down the date. So 22. The date is January the 4th. You don't necessarily have to write anything in the particulars column, and the debit amount is 791. Okay, now there is a page number. So page is 40, right? So here I'm supposed to write 40, right? Now the ledger number is 105. So this 105 will go here. So 105. Now I'll just get rid of these extra circles that I made. Alright. Then 791 debit. It already had debit 1900, so now the balance would also be debit, right? So 1900 plus 791 would be debit 2691. This can be J40 instead of just 40. Okay. Now in the same journal, you have the next transaction, that is fees earned, and that is credited 700, right? So go to the fees earned account. Fees earned, right? Now fees earned, the date is 22 January 4. Fees earned. What is the amount of fees earned? The amount of fees earned is 700, right? And it is on the credit side, so you write on the credit 700, and PR, as we know, it is J40. There is nothing on the balance, so the new transaction itself is the balance. Now it's the credit balance, right? So you write CR and write 700. Now again, let's go back to the journal entry. So bank is done, fees earned is done. Now HST payable is 91, it's credit. So go to HST payable account, right? Now this is year 22 January 4, and you have 91 on the credit. Okay, so you have 91 on the credit. So 91. Okay, now you already had 225 in credit, so credit plus credit is again credit balance. So 225 plus 91 is 316, and this is number 210. So we'll write here HST payable 210. Sorry, I forgot to write in fees earned. So what is the account number for fees earned? That's 405. So we'll write 405 here. Okay, so we have finished all three transactions in the first journal entry. Now next, wages, expenses and bank. So we have two transactions. I mean, yeah, one transaction, but two accounts are being impacted. So go to wages, expenses account. Okay, so I'm at wages, expenses account. Now, if you see the journal entry, so the date is 22 January 7th, right? Now the journal is J40 for all the journals. Now 1500 is on the debit. So you write 1500. You write 1500 on the debit, right? There is nothing on the balance, so your transaction itself is your balance. Debit 1500. All right. The other account that was being impacted by the journal entry was bank. So you go to bank account and you write this 505, right? This 505 you need to write in the journal. You write 505. Now bank. Bank is credited. Okay. So January 7th, J40, bank is credited 1500. Okay, so it had a debit balance of 2691 and now on credit you have 1500. Still you have a debit balance, right? If you subtract, you have a debit balance of 1191 and the account number is 105. So you write in the journal 105. Okay, now transaction on. So we finished wages, expense and bank. Now on transaction on January the 10th, bank debit and accounts receivable P Berry. So we received money on account. So bank comes in, so bank is debited. So let's go to the bank account first. It's January the 10th, right? Journal is J40. It is debited by how much? 370. You already had 1191 on debit and you still have more debit, so debit and debit gets added, so you have debit balance of 1191 plus 370, that is 1561. Okay, now this account number is 105, so on bank you simply write 105. Now accounts receivable, so let's go to accounts receivable account. Yes, right here. So you write 22 January 10, right? Now accounts receivable is credited, right? So you write 370 on the credit. Oops, sorry. Now you had 370 debit, 370 credit, right? So is there any balance left? No balance left, right? So you simply write a dash and zero balance. Okay, now this is J40 and there's 110, right? So you go to the journal and write 110. Okay, next transaction, supplies debit, HST recoverable debit and accounts payable general supply company is credited 1243. So let's go to the ledger accounts one by one. So you go to supplies first. Okay, now in supplies, write the date 22 January the 15th. Supplies is debited. It is debited from where? From J40, right? The amount is 1100. Now it already had debit balance of 1420, more debit of 1100, so now you have total debit of 2520. Okay, now bank, this was done. Now supplies is done. Now you go to HST recoverable account, you have 143 debit date. January 15, it is coming from J40. Sorry, we forgot to write here J40. And then it is $143 on the debit. Okay, so 75 it was already having on debit, and then again 143 comes on the debit. So you have to add it, right? So 75 plus 143 is debit 218. So this is J40 we wrote here, and this is transaction number, sorry, ledger number 215. So here you write 215, and supplies account was account number 115. Okay, and next you have accounts payable general supply company 1243 credit, 1243 credit, right? So 22 January 15th, PR is J40, 1243 credit. It already had a credit of 2030. Now you have 1243 credit, so when you add this, so that would be 3273. Okay, this is 205, so you go to accounts payable and write 205. This is done, right? Next we have again accounts receivable P Berry debit, right? So you go to accounts receivable P Berry, okay, here it is, accounts receivable, the date is 21, and then it's on debit 565, J40 debit 565. Okay, now there was no balance, right? So now the new transaction itself is the balance, so debit 565. Now this is 110, so you go to the journal entry and you write 110. Next you have is fees earned, right? So fees earned is 500 credit, so you go to fees earned account, right? So this is January 21, right? J40, fees earned is credit, right? So credit 500. So now you have total balance of credit 700 plus 500, that is 1200. Okay, now this is account number 405, so we go to the journal entry and we write 405. HST payable also credit 65, so you go to HST payable account, payable account, this comes from J40 on January 21, right? The amount is $65, that is credit. Okay, the previous balance was also credit, so 316, and this $65 that we put is also on the credit. So now the balance would be 316 plus 65, that is 381 credit. Okay, now this is account number 210, so we'll write 210. This completes our transaction. Okay, next we have C Fry's drawings. Now drawings debit, right? So you go to the drawings account, Okay, so this is 22, this is January, and the date is 25. And drawings, this comes from J40, right? And it's debit 800. Now there was nothing here, so the balance is also debit 800, right? Now if you see the this is account number 310. So you go to journal entry and you write 310. Next is bank, right? Bank is credit because if it withdraws money, bank has to be credited. So you go to the bank account, the date is 25 and 800 credit. All these transactions come from J40. This is 800 credit. Okay, now debit you have 1561 and credit 800. So you still have a debit balance. So 1561 minus 800, that gives you 761. Okay, now this is account number 105. So in bank you write down 105. Okay, next you have general expense, that is 240 debit. So let's go to general expense account. This is J40. The transaction is on date January 30. Now general expense account was debited by 240, so you write on the debit 240, right? Now there is nothing, so debit balance 240. Now this is account number 500, so you go back to the journal and you write down 500. Next is HST recoverable, that is also debit 3120. So you go to HST recoverable account, January 30, it is J40, and it is HST recoverable debit 3120. This is account number 215, so you can write 215 here. Okay. Now debit balance, again debit, so total debit of 218 plus 3120, so that comes to 249.20. Alright, so finish HST recoverable. This is account number 215, which we have already written. And lastly, bank is credited, so 271.20. So the date is January 30, comes from J40, and then you have 271.20 on the credit. Now debit was 761, you have credit 271.20, so again your balance is going to be debit. So that is 489.80. Okay, so just double check that all your debit credits are written, all the J40s are written everywhere, right? And J40s are written everywhere, yes, that's correct. Then yes, bank is account number 105. So you write that. Okay, so we're almost done. Now last step, what we're going to do is we're supposed to make a trial balance. So just put all the account names here one by one. If the balance is a debit balance In the last column, you write in the debit column. If it is credit, you write in the credit column, right? Let's just do and finish this question. Okay, so step 1, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to write the name of the company. Sometimes this behaves a bit weird. Okay. See fries. It's trial balance. And January. Okay. So you can just write down all the accounts one by one in the order as they are given to us. So let's say bank. Now bank has a debit balance, right? So we'll write on the debit column 489.80. Then accounts receivable, B Berry. Now this accounts receivable also has a debit balance, so 565 on the debit. Supplies also has the debit balance, so you write 2520 on the debit. Then equipment is given to us. There was no transaction of equipment, but the balance is given to us, so we write the balance of equipment, that is 9075. Accounts payable, general supply company. Now accounts payable is a credit balance, you write on the credit side 23273. Okay, then you have HST payable and HST recoverable. Okay, now HST payable and HST recoverable. HST payable has a credit balance of 381 and HST recoverable has a debit balance of 249.20. Okay. Next we have the capitals drawings. So C fries capital and C fries drawings. Okay. C fries capital is 10585, so that's credit. And drawings is credit, of course, so that's 800. And then we have fees earned account, the revenues. So fees earned has a credit balance of 1200. And general expense has a debit balance of 240. Wages expense has a debit balance, because it's an expense, right? It has to be a debit balance of 1500. Now we write down the total. So just double check, the totals should be same. So it is 15439. 15439. That's it. So now the balances are same. That means the journal entry is correct, the ledger posting is right, and the balances are calculated right. Thank you so much, students. Now please try to do question number 3. This was question number 2. Thank you and have a good day.